And therefore it is a choice that you make based on the knowledge and the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The life in the grave, my brothers and sisters, begins from the very moments you lay and you are in the state of death. Allah describes it in the Quran. فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ. And verily when it reaches the throat. وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ. And you standing beside him are looking down upon him, at him. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْكُمْ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. Yet verily we are closer to him than you, but you cannot observe it. You cannot see it. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who sends the angels, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam describes in the authentic hadith of Al-Bara ibn Azib, which is extended, that I shall summarize to you in this discussion. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, as he sat with Al-Bara ibn Azib and others from the Sahaba in the graveyard after just having buried one of his Sahaba, he began to scratch the ground with a branch. And he told them, sit. And he said to them, when the believer, إِذَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنِ, is turned towards the hereafter and has turned his back to the dunya, في استقبال الآخرة, he's turned towards the akhirah, and he has turned away from the worldly life, angels descend, فَيَجْلِسُونَ عِنْدَ آخِرِ طَرْفِهِ. Angels descend and they sit at the furthest extent of his eyesight. بِيضُ الْوُجُوهِ. They have luminous and brightened faces. مَعَهُمْ كَفَنٌ وَحَنُوطٌ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. They carry with them a coffin and musk from the Jannah. And they constantly draw closer to him. حَتَّى يَجْلِسُونَ عِنْدَ رَأْسِهِ. Until they sit near his head. وَيَنْزِلُ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ. And at that moment the angel of death comes. And he sees, while those around him, وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ. You are looking upon him. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْكُمْ. But we are closer to him than you. And the angel of death sits near his head. And says, يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةِ. O blessed and righteous soul. اخرجي إلى exit into the ridwan of Allah, the forgiveness and the pleasures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set for you. And as soon as he takes it out, the Prophet ﷺ says, it is like water dripping out of a siqaya. It's like water dripping out of a water skin. Fluid motion. And as soon as it escapes the body, the angels take it from the angel of death. And they wrap it in this kafan. And they begin to ascend to the heavens. And when they reach the heaven of the worldly life, أهل السماء, they shall say, لمن هذه الروح الطيبة? To whom belongs this blessed soul? فيقولون هي روح فلان ابن فلان ويسمونه بأحسن أسمائه. It is the soul of this person, the son of this person, naming him with the most blessed names that he was known with in the worldly life. And the angels shall open the gates of the heavens until it ascends to the seventh heaven. And therein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اكتبوا روح عبدي, write the name of this servant, worshipping slave of mine, في عليين, in the records of the Most High. ثم أعيدوها إلى الأرض, and return this soul back to the earth. فمنها خلقناهم, from it we created them. ومنها نعيدهم, and to it we return them. ومنها نخرجهم تارة أخرى, and from it we shall bring them out for their last time. And the soul descends back, and the Prophet ﷺ says, ترفرف, it is like a fluttering, like a flag fluttering above the body of the deceased. And it remains there until the deceased is placed in the ground. And when the deceased is placed in the ground, the Prophet ﷺ continues and says, two angels come to him. وَيَجْلِسُونَهُ فِي قَبْرِهِ. They sit him up in his grave and they ask him, Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? And what is your religion? And who was the man that was sent? And he shall answer, this believing mu'min, this believing man or woman, Rabbi Allah, wa dini al-Islam. My Lord is Allah, my religion is Islam, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was the man who was sent. He is the one I believed in. And there shall be a call, and sadaqa abdi. My servant has spoken the truth. Afrishu lahu fi qabrih. Give him a well spread out area in the grave. Waftahu lahu baban ila al-jannah. And open to him a gate to the Jannah. And at that moment, the Persians shall see entering upon him rajul, who is dressed in fine clothing, smelling of good fragrance, with a brightened face. And he shall say to him, why have you come to me? Your face can only come with good news. فَيَقُولُ أَنَا عَمَلُكَ الصَّالِحِ. I am a representation of your righteous deeds. At that moment, you and I, in our grave, shall say, Rabbi aqam as-sa'a. O Allah, bring about the day of judgment. We shall be in earnest seeking the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the same time, the Prophet ﷺ continued, as for the fajr, the disbeliever, angels with darkened faces descend, terrifying in complexion and in disposition. And they draw closer to him and closer until they sit near his head. And then the angel of death descends and says, Ya ayyatuha an-nafsul khabitha, O evil, wicked soul, khruji ila sakhatin min Allah, exit into the fury and wrath of Allah. And as he extracts the soul dissipates throughout the body. And it's as if it is being pulled out like thorns from wool, bit by bit. And the angels take it from Malakul Maut and put it in a coffin that is foul and full of stench. And they try to ascend with it to Allah. But as they come to the gates of the first heaven, the heaven of the dunya, the angels shall say, لِمَنْ هَذِهِ الرُّوحُ الْخَبِيثَةِ. To whom belongs this wicked soul? And the angels shall name him with the worst of his names, and the worst of his father's names. And it shall be said that drop this soul and leave it, for it does not rise. And اكتبوا روح عبدي اسم عبدي, write the name of this wicked person in the lowest of records. And therein the Prophet ﷺ recited from Surah Al-Hajj that those who disbelieve in Allah, it is as if they fall from the skies, أو تخطفهم الطير, or they are snatched to bits by the birds as they are falling. And the Prophet ﷺ then also recited from Surah Al-A'raf, those who disbelieve in Allah, لا تفتح لهم أبواب السماء ولا يدخلون الجنة. Those who disbelieve, the gates of the heavens won't be open for them. They won't be allowed to ascend. And they shall never enter Jannah until a camel can pass through a needle's hole. Until a camel can pass through the hole of a needle. And the soul descends to the earth. And when the body is buried, it is asked, who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who was your prophet? And the answer is Ma. I have no idea. What are you asking? And it shall be said, open for him a pit to the pits of the fire. And therein he is punished for his wickedness and for his sinfulness. And the adhabul qabr, my brothers and sisters, is a reality. وَإِنْ أَنْكَرَهُ الْمُعْتَزِلَ وَغَيْرِهِمْ. Even if some of the deviant Islamic groups, and therefore it is a choice that you make based on the knowledge and the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.